and bring it back to basics and allow the company to do what they're good at, which is, some people might question that right now, to do what they were able of to do what they were continuing to do or what they were doing all the time beforehand.
Right.
And it's I'm glad you brought it up, because I really do think that they need to reconsider whether this is the right plan of approach if 2 years later we still have not even come up with a tour, like a bid, for it.
Well, and couple the fact, I'm sorry, they all sat here and told me that I was wrong about alternative energy and solar, um, and doing it on a larger scale. And they're just wrong, right? There should be incentives put in place for private industry
Absolutely.
to endorse or embrace alternative energies to feed power back to the grid, and then they've got production at very little cost that they can turn around and sell at full rate, or use it as a mechanism to drive the total cost of electricity down.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what they told me? You know what their answer was? No, only basically the answer was this: only the rich people will do this, and then this will cause the rates of the poor people to go up because they can't afford to go use alternative energy. And I'm sorry, that's hogwash.
I think it is hogwash, and people need to stop saying things that they don't have any data on before, because you'd be surprised at the individuals that actually have solar. They're not exactly at the highest earning group. They're not in that highest earning group. Most people that are even able to do it themselves, you'd be surprised at their background. As long as
they've done a little
people
bit.
of all walks of life have solar installations at their home. All walks of life.
You know what, I have three I done like all out. I spent a ton of money to do it at my home. You know what my GB bill was, and I live with it. You've been to my house. I live with the air conditioning all the time.
Oh, I'm definitely moving in.
$38. $38.
That's insane. Well, what was your so before all this pricing increase happened, what was your average bill before?
Anywhere between $600 and $1,200, depending.
That's fantastic.
And depending if the guest houses were full or stuff. Right. So I priced the number of kilowatts that I consumed, not what I took from GB, but my bill would have been about $650 under current pricing structure. It was 38.
That's insane.
It's about a 4-year payback. Life is good.
I mean, are you comfortable saying what your investment was?
Yeah, sure. About 30, little less than 32, 33.
Is that because you have like what's it called, like the battery packs?
Yeah, I have 3 batteries.
That's why
the batteries are super expensive, right? But you know what? I stayed on battery till 4:00 in the morning. My aunt and uncle are in the guest room last night. My aunt and uncle are in the guest room. Both guest houses are rented, and so everything was full. I have one bedroom that nobody's sleeping in at the moment because it's season.
Yes, let me know when I can move in. Okay, I'm gonna stop this banter.
You can move in anytime you want, but never mind. Don't say it. You're dealing with a member of parliament. Shut up, Soc.
So let's change gears.
Yeah.
It's nice to have you. This is your first time in for the new year.
2026, yes.
Government is about, a year and a half in place. And actually, you can already feel, as I talk to some of the members of parliament, you can already feel that people are starting to gear up for elections. They're starting to work on, I guess it never stops, but they're starting to get more serious about thinking about, recruiting people for their list.
Absolutely.
And that process is, I guess, probably ongoing, but you can feel it sort of escalating, right? And so I have really one question for you after a year and a half of your coalition, right? Because you're a member of the PFP being in government. Is the quality of life for the residents of St. Martin improving? Is government being effective in terms of delivering on the promises in their campaign platforms?
I mean, you could read the headlines in the newspapers from yesterday and the day before, and it'll answer itself. We have.
Help me.
It'll answer itself in the sense of, look, May 2026 will be 2 years that this current administration is in. It always feels already like, longer because we started technically in January and we're already now at the end of January. And sure, it took some time for everyone to get used to the jobs and the roles and all of that. But this has been a very challenging term because of the fact that you had problematic budgets coming in. and you just like, you have a shortage of persons. Well, not shortage. You have a lot of persons that left the government apparatus, so you lost a lot of knowledge with that. And then you look at just the basic processes that each sort of ministry is supposed to do. And I thought about this yesterday when I considered coming on air, and I said the basic things aren't being managed efficiently. They're not being done like consistently in an efficient manner and in a fast manner, right? And so if you're asking me, do I think the life has improved? I can't say yes, because definitely cannot say yes, because you saw the paper yesterday. There's a problem with the fire department. That's why we can't get permits done. The unions are on a go slow for ambulance, fire department, here, there, everywhere. So that's why we can't. So what I do see a lot, which, at least you're being honest with the public, what I do see a lot is a lot of explanation, but a lot of explanation happening because of like a disclaimer, putting it somewhere else, putting the factor to it, or the reason that stuff can't get done somewhere else. And this is a frustration for me personally, whether it is with this coalition or ever. The kind of person I am, I want people to take responsibility for something, and then just don't shove the excuse onto another party or share it with another party. Come up with a solution for me of how you're going to fix it. And I mean, just a simple thing is,
and do it.
And again, you asked me a question, and it's because of what I've experienced lately. Again, I had to, my mom realized that her passport is going to be expiring, within 7 months. And I said, oh, well, some places don't let you come to their country if your passport is 6 months or less. So let me make an appointment for you. So I go and make an appointment. We get it. This is from, last week. We get it for March, right? Mid-March. And I said, well, you won't be able to travel anymore after this month because that's 6 months within. Again, Tim's license was expired, his resident permit, his ID, Smart ID was expired since last year. I go in and make an appointment for him online, and it's April. April is his appointment. And then, here's the reaction. I'm talking with a colleague MP, and I'm talking with Tim, for instance. And he was like, why isn't there a separate line where I can just come, pay a premium for getting it done the same day, rather than waiting 4 months for something so simple?
Why I even take it a step further? Why should you have to pay? This should be the kind of thing where you should just be able to show up, and print the ID card.
Well, there's a cost involved with printing the ID card, so I'm gonna still charge for it. And I think it's a normal practice.
Charge for the card, but this fact that I have to wait 4 months to get an appointment to do anything doesn't make sense.
So the roundabout manner of answering your question is, you asked if my life is improved. I can tell you,
not yours.
no, the city, well, our lives. Sorry,
our
I said
lives.
my.
Exactly.
It was improved, and in terms of the processes that government has to do for the public, so for their public service, no.
So let's just take that
It is not.
as a simple example, right? Normally, you go to a supermarket and the line is just queuing up. What do? They put extra cashiers in place.
Correct.
So
Not
that
here.
you bring the line down.
Correct.
Right?
Not here.
So why not have the civil service say, okay, look, given the backlog that we have, I don't even know if the Simpson Bay...
It's closed.
It's closed.
Which is also crazy with the traffic situation we have going on.
Why is it closed?
Well, hang on.
This is a
The Simpson
discussion.
Bay, the service center, where you used to be able to do certain functions, right? So that would alleviate traffic that has to go back and forth over the hill, and it's more stations to get work done, right? So just a simple thing. This isn't a parliamentary discussion. This is
correct.
You have, and I don't even think it's a budget discussion because you're paying for the service, right?
It's a management issue.
Just extend the hours, put more services, open on weekends, bring the
Totally.
backlog down so that
Correct.
it's not months to get a simple thing done.
But this is what I mean about solutions, and I am not nitpicking here at a specific minister or a government or whatever. Just sometimes these ministers get so distracted by all these other things outside their core responsibility, and this has been my messaging since I have been going on interviews this year. What is your core responsibility? To do this. I need you to just review, like you would in private sector. Am I performing this optimally? Am I doing this well? And if you're not doing that, then obviously you can't even do your core responsibility well. Why are you even interfering somewhere else right now? Like if you're talking about like with a government-owned company or something like this,
we used to talk about something in my old life. We called it, what is the quality of the customer service that we are providing. And we would look at this, and we measured it, right? And all the time. And we looked at things year over year, month over month. And when you start to look at that stuff, then things get better. And until you take that deep, that deep look inside of what you're doing or not doing, it just
what you
you're
just said
spinning.
is key with the messaging that I've had since 2026 started. I said in every single interview, it's time for you to just take a little step back. It doesn't have to be forever, and just do a little self-reflection and go over what is my task? What am I here to do? Am I here to do a special project, or am I here to see how I can optimize? And what you have right now is you do not have a focus on the core, like the civil service core and the tasks that they're supposed to be performing, so that you can make it more efficient and do it well. Top that off with the fact that you have a delayed budget as well.
So let us know what the budget. I know for our listeners it's not the most exciting topic.
Totally.
But the fact is, government needs money to operate, and the fact that the budget isn't approved creates financial challenges for government. Why is the budget for 2026 not even submitted to Parliament yet?
So you're saying it creates financial challenges, absolutely, because they basically can't sign off on anything. What happens when you go into the following, like let's say we're in 2026, the budget is not done yet. It's going to be, you're limited to what the 2025 budget was in terms of your spending. So there's something
Which still isn't approved.
It was approved twice, but it was not correct
Right.
for all of the
Right.
for certain transactions. And then just to bring it full circle for people that are listening and that may be familiar, it was not correct for Carnival and Soul Beach, for instance, which were two big amounts spent that had to be put into the budget. So now you have a budget that's existing without a line item for Carnival, which means that it's just going to be copied over into 2026. So they're going to have to do, again, the same thing in 2026, maybe a one-off or this kind of outlier decision of putting money to Carnival, but then it's going to have to be taken away from something else because they're not budgeting for it. So how are they going to do it legally? So now you're asking me why 2026 isn't there, and I wanted to make a point before I answered that. Not only is your delay of your budget causing the financial challenges, like you said, Emil, but it's also demotivating to civil service, because what's happening is that some civil servants were due their 13th month. I don't like calling it a bonus, because a bonus is something for me that I get from private sector for you going above and beyond, and they have gone above and beyond, but I feel like it should be a different word. And some of them were entitled to this sort of gratification pay or a bonus pay, for example, and some of them haven't been paid since 2024. So they did not get the 2024. You're going to have some that are due some in 2025, and they're not going to get that either because we don't have budgets. So now you see where I'm going with this. It's going to demotivate people even more. So we're talking about, getting the core task of the civil service to be optimized, but how do you do that with a demotivated workforce? So now you're asking why this is not done. I mean, look, maybe this is growing pains and, taking experience required, but the way the 2025 budget was handled for me it's unacceptable. And I took a lot of blows for not approving a budget for my own coalition, like you said, that I'm part of. But I also have a financial background, and I'm not going to approve something that for me is financially incorrect or inaccurate, because that would be irresponsible of my own duty and career to myself and to my profession. And if I want to be taken seriously by anyone back in the finance sector, I have to be consistent with what I know and how I operate. but
at the end of the day, MP, right? It's about the truth. It's either right or it's not. And if it's not right, it doesn't deserve to be approved. And I go back to the same thing all the time. And
coalitions don't understand that very well. Just so you know, like the politics sometimes here is very confusing for others, not for me. It's yes or no. Sometimes I'm very black and white.
It's either right or it's not. I mean, there are no shades of gray when it comes to numbers. The thing that bothers me the most is if you were to go to Holland, we're a pretty small town, right? If we were to go anywhere in the United States, we're a pretty small town, and there are small communities all around the world that seem to be able to get their act together. Why can't we?
Because we're like headless chicken. We're all over the place, you know?
Mhm.
And that's why I go back to Emil, telling Emil, I need you all to just kind of focus on your core responsibilities and optimize that for now. Now, going back to, I'm so sorry, I still have these alarms set on my phone. With the budget, the intention originally was to have the budget of 2025 come back to Parliament for the third time, to have the amendments in there that needed for the carnival subsidy and for like Soul Beach, that needed it to be corrected, maybe a couple of the small things as well. And because now we are in 2026, 2025 is no longer really applicable. So the plan was the 2025 budget was going to come in February. 2026 budget was going to come in May.
We're running tight on time. Let me ask you.
I don't know when it's going to come anymore.
Real quick. Government's broke. We've pointed out that there's a lot of money not being collected for the Airbnbs, and the Minister of Finance said she'd put together a committee and look into it. And you don't need a legislative change for this. It's just an enforcement collection issue. Any ideas why that's not, if government's so tapped for money, why they're not doing that? And then maybe just sideways, infrastructure, traffic is a nightmare. There's all these potholes that have been marked that not filled. So indeed, it seems as if the core functions of government are not being delivered on. Minister of Education comes out and says she needs stronger parent engagement to improve public school culture. I mean, these are not things that I've read in your manifestos as parties, and that, the changing of our school environment depends on a change of family culture, which is something that's going to take ages, right? So it just feels like the core responsibilities of government, the things that affect our day-to-day life, aren't really being addressed.
That's why I answered you plainly, and I wanted to give context to it. And again, this is the third time now publicly I'm going to request that the ministers go and look at their core responsibilities and focus on that, especially just like you said, everyone's gearing up. We're 2 years out from an election. You need to do something to improve the lives of our citizens by then if you want to remain in office.
I'll take it a step further. How about you just do your jobs?
and
do your jobs, take care of the people's business, and stop screwing around. Can I be any more blunt?
Yeah.
Why can we not get this to happen here? I feel like we lack the will. We certainly don't have.
I think they're a bit distracted by other things rather than what their core task should be, and
travel,
and that's why I said self-reflect. I'm not bashing anyone. I'm not criticizing anyone. I'm reminding them what will happen in 2 years if they are not improving the lives of people in the simple core task of government.
It's their job.
It's not, it's not a new project somewhere that's going to get you votes. It's the ones that are people that are going to affect everyone day to day, which is like not waiting 4 to 5 months to get a census registration form.
MP de Weever, always a pleasure to see you. We need to do this again.
I know we did lose time, but it was really lovely catching up with you guys off air.
So let's schedule another one for later this month.
No worries.
Or next month.
Well, yeah, next month because we're almost at the end of January.
Let's schedule something for February before you leave the building.
Good. Okay.
Auntie Fluff, by the way, Marine and Tropical Weather Update is coming up next, brought to you by K Beach Club and Restaurant. Bob Marley, Jimmy Buffett Moment is coming up after that. And then my Auntie Fluff is coming in. Auntie Fluff is like a great cook. Been eating like crazy for the last week. I put on 10 pounds. It's all her fault. So it's all on the way next. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you guys.
And Emil, always a pleasure, sir.
Thanks. Great to be here.
And, of course, it was this week's edition of the St. Martin Insights, news that matters to you. We'll be right back.